first I kind of want to go back to you talking about my voice in YouTubers.
It's gotten a lot better now, by the way.
Oh yeah,
You're much more real
Yeah.
now, but in the beginning of the podcast, it was full on comedy without errors, placating.
That's I mean, you know what I have to do when I record those videos
Mhm.
is I have to spend like 5 to 10 minutes just talking at the camera, easing myself into it, because it's pinnacle of phoniness. And the more I talk, the more it goes away. And
Yeah.
I know that happens, and the only way I can do it is just by talking and forgetting that. But it's just I'm aware of my voice type of
Yeah.
stuff. And it's, I've recently had the massive epiphany that I probably have autism, and that's probably all related to this.
Yeah,
Blah, 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 blah.
probably.
Yeah.
Did you get tested?
No, it's more expensive than I thought, and so
Yeah.
it's I've been doing bits about it on stage, and I have this like
That's basically the same.
it's basically, um, yeah. What I mean is, I feel morally obligated to eventually get tested
Right.
if I'm representing it publicly in that way,
Yeah.
So I will get around to it, but apparently I found out from my mom I was tested for it a bunch when I was a kid, but they had different diagnostic criteria back then. It was the DSM-4. Now we're in the DSM-5. If you don't know what that is, it's a
No, I don't.
psychology manual they use for diagnosing people,
Okay.
and it's a standardized system. The 4th edition is what they had back when I was 4 years old. We are
Okay.
now in the 5th edition.
Yep.
And they have changed very fundamental things about the diagnostic criteria for autism. Like, back then they thought if you had ADHD, you literally couldn't have autism. They thought they were mutually exclusive. And so I got ADHD diagnosis, and they were like, cool, no autism. It's rain or something.
Yeah, I was just hearing weird sounds.
Gotcha.
Not that I have. Speaking of ADHD.
Anyway, so they tested me a bunch because they thought I might have it as a kid, and then decided I had ADHD. But like, point is it's not even new stuff that I probably have autism, and I didn't know it. Like, they thought I had it, and then but now based on modern criteria, they probably would say I have it.
Yeah. What's a good comparison for that? Like, first of all, happy for you that happy you feel more comfortable in your skin. I didn't think you are not someone that I think truly, I think that you in stand-up, like the way you present during stand-up is something that like isn't it's very natural to you, and our conversations are very natural. When I think of autism, I don't think you doing stand-up is the presentation of your autism. I'm hearing music. Are you hearing music?
Oh, yeah. I didn't hear it until you pointed it out. It's not getting picked up on mic.
It's people outside. Okay, we can't fix that. We're just not going to show up on the thing.
Yeah. Seems like we're okay.
I just was making sure that I wasn't crazy, or that I wasn't, like, my phone wasn't on the side, like, playing music like an idiot. I don't think you're autistic, but I know nothing, and you shouldn't take me seriously in that regard.
Yeah.
But I think that you're. I don't know really what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is I feel like you have found your truest self in stand-up comedy, and the way you present in stand-up seems very genuine and true to you. And so, for some reason, when I think of autism, I think a lot of people like trying to hide it.
Yeah.
Right, and I don't see you hiding. I don't think of you on stage and think of you hiding something.
Yeah. No, well, I mean, I think there's very different genres of autism. There's like, do people have different traits? And there's the term is masking. Same thing as hiding. And I think it's very interesting because one of the things I've thought about recently is I've always gotten super cringed out by autistic people, like in my life in the past, right? And I think
how anti-autism of you.
I know, right? And I think a lot of times when you cringe at something, it's because you recognize something in yourself. Like you're afraid of it. You know what I mean? Like when something is totally foreign to you, you don't cringe at it. You're like, what's that over there? You cringe at something because you have some empathy or whatever. And I think I had a certain level of like empathy for the masking I was watching people doing because I felt like I was doing it but didn't want to admit to myself I was doing it. And so it was that's where the cringe came from. And like I used to, as like an experiment, I used to never be able to watch like Love on the Spectrum. Like it would freak me. And like I've
it would freak you out?
Yeah, like I would get like cringe. I would like, it would upset me or something like that.
That's how I felt about Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah, some people get that way about stuff like Curb. Yeah. And like The Office, some people get.
Yeah, it's just the lack of social awareness that gets me.
Yeah. But for me, it was stuff like Love on the Spectrum. And like now that I'm like at peace with the idea that I either do or probably or whatever, I watched it. I'm like, oh, this doesn't bother me anymore. Like it was, at the very least, I had some deep self-loathing fear I had autism, even if I didn't have it. But there are like an insane amount of autistic traits that I have. And I think I've never been the type of autistic where I'm so like high masking or so high unaware of social cues that I come across in the way you're talking about that can be kind of inauthentic. Like I know some autistic comics who are like very performative in the way they do comedy, and clearly I'm not that, you know? But I don't know. I think it explains a lot of my behavior. I mean, like stuff like, for example, you know, I have the YouTube channel recently where I analyze comedy. I think I understand comedy and social cues in a more analytical way than most people do. Like I succeed socially, but not like, I think people go like, oh, that guy's sad, and they just get a vibe, and I'm like, he's sad because his eyes are doing that thing. You know, like I have this like very specific way of looking at social stuff, you know.
Yeah, you said you succeed socially. I don't know if I agree.
Well, there you go.
You're doing a good job.
I pass.
You pass socially.
I survive. Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing is I used to, one of my other big things has always been I get socially tired really, really quickly. Like I exhaust from social situations, and it's because I think I was desperately trying to mask. And ever since I've like stopped worrying about that, I have a much higher social battery. I'm like not tired in a social situation after 5 minutes because I'm not afraid that someone might notice I'm doing something weird or autistic or whatever. And I'm just like, yeah. I mean, and talking about you feel like on stage, I think I've realized I'm autistic because of comedy has made me more authentic to who I am. I actually think over the past 3 years in doing comedy, the real me has become more authentic because of comedy.
Yeah, well, I mean, you think about your first couple of bits that you did.
Yeah.
They weren't about you at all.
Yeah.
I like the Spider-Man or Disney World.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot.
OnlyFans, something like that. Yeah, there was something comparison.
Oh, God.
When I met Max, it was I was TAing for a comedy class. I was not getting paid, but I was getting paid in experience. And Max was trying out, and you did 5 minutes of material. That was what the class was. You get up and you do 5 minutes. And I was like, I like 4 or 5 things in your 5 minutes. And then the next week we came back and you were supposed to like tweak 3 or 4 things and like have a better 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And instead you came with a totally new 5 minutes. And I was like, and it was good again. And I was like, you motherfucker. This kid's good and I don't like him.
Yeah.
And
tough stuff.
But then the natural comedic timing and all that stuff was there, but you being true to yourself and the fact that like that's the way you like to do comedy, I think that's why we resonate so well with each other.
The way I like to do comedy?
The fact that me and you want to be very authentic to ourselves in stand-up. I think that's one of the main reasons why I feel like we like get along so well.
Yeah. But you know what's funny about that is I sometimes feel like I'm authentic to myself, not because I care about that, but because I can tell that's what other people want from me. And so I'm like, oh, they want me to be authentic? Okay, I'll be authentic. It's like a performance of authenticity. And it is authentic, but it's...
I think you're spending too much time alone.
I have a girlfriend.
You can have a girlfriend and still spend too much time alone.
Fair enough.
Ruminating.
I do. I ruminate so much about everything.
I just think like you hate some of the things that I do in comedy because I choose to stay in the truth more than I want to be funny.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, I get why you do. I hate it. I don't hate it, but yeah.
I hate that I can't separate the two.
Mm-hmm.
I find something that I find a funny way to present a real event,
and
then I'm like, I don't know what to do now.
Yeah.
And it's been 3 years. That's still where I'm at.
Yeah. I mean, I was just talking to someone else the other day about how I think a lot of times punchlines move away from the truth. Like, setups have to be authentic. Well, don't have to, but for us, they have to be authentic. And then punchlines can jump away from the truth. And I think the only thing I've always felt like I want you to do more is when you get to the punchline, you don't need to be truthful for half a second during that one sentence, and then you return. You like have these. That's the way I do it. Is I do like energy resets where I like split from the truth and then come back, split from the truth and then come back. And as long as you kind of know when you're in which one, I think the audience does too, and you're not lying to them. You're just
Who gives a shit if I'm lying to the audience? I don't understand why I'm over there just I can't. I just think they know.
Yeah, so you're afraid that they can see through it when you lie?
I just don't. I think people laugh more at the truth than they do at the lie that I create.
Yeah.
Every time I create a lie, I don't think it's funnier than the truth that I had previously set up.
Just burped. Yeah, I mean,
By the way, I don't know if this is an autistic thing, but you do not have to tell people when you burp.
Oh, I was worried it came through the mic, but yeah. You know what is an autistic thing? Is me always taking an extra second to realize someone's joking. And that's like, it always takes me an extra second to be like, oh, that was a joke,
Yeah.
Anyway, you're not, because the setup, I get what you're saying with the setup of a joke, where when you construct a whole joke around something that's not true, it feels like a lie. But like, I'll have jokes, like I have one about rating my mom on the 10 scale right now that I do.
Damn it. Well, yeah, we talked about this. Okay, go ahead.
And the whole joke is like a satire of how much comics, I think, worry about how hot their mom is, and it's weird to me.
When did you start talking about this?
I don't know, a few months ago.
Oh, okay. I've been talking to you about my hot mom about.
Yeah, I've been doing it since before you did your thing about your hot mom.
I'm not worried that you're stealing my joke. I'm just wondering why we have parallel thoughts even though we haven't spent time with each other.
I think I've seen so many comics talk about. There was one mic I was at a few months ago where one comic went up and complained about how their mom was too hot, like she was a model or whatever, and another one was like, she's got an ugly mom. They've got an ugly mom, and in my head I was like, what's the right hotness for a mom? Like, what are you hunting for here? And I was like, that's a joke. And so now the whole thing is like, I'm like, 8 is too sexy for mommy, but 6, that's your mother we're talking about here. 7's the right number. And then it ends with like, and 7's the right number for any mom, even though mine's really like a 4. And I think when I say my mom's really like a 4, everyone knows I don't, like, you can tell that's fake, right? Yeah. That line is not even meant to be received as a genuine feeling about my mother. And the audience knows that, and I know that. And that's the end of the joke. And I think that's fine to end on that note of like, we all know that was just a closing ha-ha, and then go back to reality. And I feel like that's what a lot of your jokes need, is just that ending like resolution of like, doesn't need to be real, just cap it off,
Yeah. Do you plan for the future in regards to hobbies?
No. Well, I have one hobby I'd like to return to I can't afford right now, but I'm a big fan of a little nerdy thing called Warhammer 40,000, which is like Dungeons and Dragons on steroids, and it costs a lot of money. You build these little models, and you have to buy them and all that. And I plan to one day have enough time and money to do more of that.
To build model World of Warcraft?
Warhammer 40,000, but yes, that's the same genre.
So what is it? Is it like a
It's like a tabletop. Imagine, Risk, the game Risk?
Yes.
Imagine if that was infinitely more complicated. Like, you build the soldiers yourself, you paint them, there's multiple rule books that are like this thick that you need in order to play the game, and just the models cost a lot of money, the paints cost a lot of money. There's a lot that goes into building your soldiers that you play with in the game.
So you build your own soldiers, and then you arrive at a centralized location where other people have painted. How do you get into something like this? Where does...
I mean, they have a few stores around New York. Some of them have closed down now.
No, I don't... How did you get into something like this?
My dad just randomly bought a box of them for me as a kid, and I as a 12-year-old, I did a chaotic job of like painting them together in like a ridiculous way. And then I went to the store, and they were like, "What the fuck did you do with these expensive little guys?" And then I vaguely, I guess, made friends with some people who were like 10 times my age and got into it a little bit as a kid.
So, your dad bought you something that... Your dad bought you a gift, and as a result, you made friends with 40-year-olds.
Yeah.
Who critiqued how well you could paint.
Yeah.
And you want to get back into that later in life.
Yeah, for sure. I did it for many years after that. Like I've gone through random phases. Like as recently as like 19 years old, I had a few months where I was like into it. And I still actually read. They publish books of lore on this stuff, and I still read some of it every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
This is like the nerdiest thing I'm into by a pretty wide margin.
So you're a big fan of lore associated with painted soldiers.
Yeah. They're Space Marines is the correct term, not soldiers.
Space Marines.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
they fight in the year 40,000. That's why it's Warhammer 40,000.
Warhammer 40,000, right? And when they, to be clear, when they're fighting, are you moving their little hands back and forth? Is that how they're fighting?
No, it's like strategy. You just move them. You take out a tape measure and you're like you move them like 3 inches, and then you roll dice and you're like, oh, he hit you 3 times, so you have to remove 3 of the enemy soldiers, and then you strategically move your guys around the board and try and conquer the map.
Okay, yeah. So it is like Risk.
It's very much like Risk. If Risk had they basically, the goal is to make it feel like a real battle in a more like strategic sense. So like there's rules about hiding behind cover and like how to embark into a transport and get out of a transport and like all sorts of things like that, so that you're like, ooh, everything has rules, you know.
So you're interested in being a war general at some point in your life.
Yes, I would like to be a sci-fi war general.
Got it. Okay. So add that to your list of items on your resume that you'll have no gaps with that you can easily get right back to.
Yeah. What was your hobby plan?
I feel like I've always thought about my hobbies and how they would mature.
Okay.
Like baseball stopped being a thing I would play because it had no long-term. I can't play baseball long-term.
You can't. What do you mean? I mean, people can play baseball older, not well, but
right. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm being bad at this communication, but like one of the reasons why I fell into pickleball is because I was like, oh, I can play this until I'm 80.
Yeah, but you can play. I don't know if I get what you mean, because
you can't play volleyball when you're 80.
Can't you? No.
Yes, you cannot.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I'm just asking. I don't know.
You're not unaware that...
What are the logistics of volleyball that make it harder than pickleball at an older age?
Blocking, setting, spiking.
That's hard to... Okay.
No one's jumping in pickleball. There's a lot of jumping in volleyball.
I see. Gotcha.
And especially if you're playing on beach.
Yeah. Okay. I get it. I hadn't thought about that before.
So you haven't thought about this at all?
Yeah, I've literally never thought about this. I've never thought about my hobbies in terms of like, what will I be able to do later in life? What do I want to do tomorrow? That's as far as I've.
Yeah. Why do I feel that way?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just like I like playing cards because I know I could play cards forever.
Okay.
I've never picked up a hobby that will be fleeting.
Okay. Most of my hobbies come in phases where I get really into a thing for like 3 or 4 months and then I move on, and then that used to kind of bother me, and now I'm more like, you know what, a lot of them come back around later, and so I'm like, oh.
Well, I was comedy for podcasting and then comedy, but mine are like 2 year cycles, which is not which is harder.
That's a big investment. That's
yeah, because I make big investments.
Yeah.
And then.
I think it's okay. I play a lot of video games with my high school friends, and they're
Sick.
they're always something we disagree.
By the way, your high school friends, you mean the 45-year-olds?
No.
You were friends with them in high school, but
no, my actual 2 friends I had in high school, we still play video games.
Okay.
And they're always looking for video games that will last us forever. They're always like, what's the next Overwatch or games that you can play every night for years and never get bored of? And I'm like, what if we found a game that's fun for 10 hours and that's so what? And they aren't into that. They're bothered by the idea of something that will only be fun for 10 hours, because there are some games that are like that where it's they're great but they don't last you a very long time. And you seem to be more in that camp of looking for a thing that will last forever.
Yeah, I want things to last forever. I don't want anyone to ever leave me. Okay.
Why? What's wrong with a thing that you enjoy for a year and then it's done with it? Like a girlfriend, that's
that seems that's exactly where mine went, and I'm a bad person if I do that.
With a human, there are consequences. There's reasons, okay, but not with a human. Hobbies are just there for you. They're not for anything. That's the point of a hobby.
Yeah, but what if you can monetize?
Okay, then it's not a hobby anymore. Now it's a career.
Right, but you shouldn't want to monetize your hobbies.
Yeah, that's the beauty of a hobby. That, I actually, in high school, I got when I was deciding what college I want to, my physics professor, I was telling him I have a passion for film, or he was a teacher, not a professor, but I have a passion for film and all this, and he's like, you have to decide what's a hobby and what's a career, and you will always love the other one, and that'll be your hobby, and the other one will be your career. And I think that, it's kind of weirdly a conscious decision you have to make, where you're like,
right,
I want this to just be a hobby.
And to be clear, you didn't take his advice, right? Because you're a stand-up comedian now?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Your physics professor?
Yeah.
How would he feel about how you imparted your decision-making?
I don't know. He would... I'd like to think he supports me from a distance.
I feel like you need to have some more physics-related content in your...
I was literally just talking... There's a comic I met the other night, Harrison something, he has some physics jokes, and I was chatting with him afterwards, and I was like, dude, I love physics. I've always wanted to put more of it into my comedy. Mm-hmm. And he was like, he's been doing it for 25 years. He's like a seasoned guy, and he was like, it'll leak into your comedy over time if you are passionate about it. And I think that's legit. I hope it will eventually, because I do want to.
That's how I feel about my love for The Daily Show.
Interesting. Okay.
The Senate parliamentarian. Do you know who that? Do you know what?
You've talked to me about the Senate parliamentarian. Oh, that wasn't in the mic at all. You've talked to me about the Senate parliamentarian before.
So the Senate parliamentarian is, so I guess generally what I'm interested in. I don't love that most of my jokes that I think are funny are dick jokes and stuff like that. Okay. Even though when you first start comedy, the first 3 years is pretty much just dick jokes, racism, and fart jokes and sex. Because I think that's the easiest thing to make funny. Yeah. But for me, even though that is true for me, my jokes are still surrounded by those things. Mm-hmm. I do feel like in telling those jokes, I'm still closer to being true to myself than I think earlier comics were when they were doing those jokes.
Wait, I don't get it. What?
I'm still doing dick jokes. I still didn't get around the I didn't skip the I'm doing dick jokes phase of my comedy career. Yeah. But I did make a conscious effort to try to be genuine during those dick jokes. I'm not telling dick jokes that don't apply to me at all.
I see. So yeah, some people do sex jokes that are just and you're okay, gotcha.
So part of me didn't think I was doing dick jokes, and I took a step back. I'm doing dick jokes.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay.
But now I'm starting to the CEO murder is the first thing where ever since that CEO got murdered, I felt much better with my comedy career. I just No, it's just because I found a way. The joke doesn't work. This part of the joke about the Senate parliamentarian.
Mm-hmm.
I basically take the angle of that no one wants to be the new CEO, so I should be it.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, you explained that. Yeah.
Like I should be the new CEO of the thing, and but I compare it. I try to compare it to like a politician who's taking over, like a grassroots politician, like a that gets into office and then ends up just being either as bad as everyone was before, or like just realizes he bit off way more than he can chew.
Yeah.
And so the end of like the joke is like that I wanted free healthcare for everyone, but unfortunately the Senate parliamentarian wouldn't let me include it in the bill.
Yeah.
But to me that is the leaking in of my view of politics and my view of my view.
Yeah.
Like real stuff. And that part of the joke has yet to get a laugh ever. But I just say that one was for me. I think that's what we talked about. We might have talked about that part.
Yeah.
But the Senate parliamentarian is the reason why we didn't get $15 minimum wage.
Okay.
Because there was a bill that got put into the Senate that included $15 minimum wage.
Yeah.
And if it got passed, then $15 minimum wage would have gotten it. But there's a Senate parliamentarian who is basically like a guy that's like, I mean, you can't do that. You can't. Like, this is an Inflation Reduction Act. You can't put that in there. That'd be that would be against the spirit of what this bill is for.
Yeah.
And so people blame that guy for why things don't get done, even though if you wanted to tell the Senate parliamentarian to go fuck himself, you could.
Yeah.
He's a get out of jail.
Yeah.
He's a way to keep things that senators said they wanted to get done from getting done.
Yeah. Scapegoat.
Yeah. And this is the first time I put it in comedy in a way where I'm like, I think I'm getting more to me of what I want to talk about. That joke is the first time I've gotten to something where I want to talk about it instead of just
whatever it is. Yeah.
Although the gay stuff was hard to talk about, and I talked about that. I don't know if we need to talk about that on here.
Yeah, that's fine.
I did want to talk about a bit, though. I did want to go bit for bit.
Sure, yeah. Let's do it.
Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
If you've got one lined up, go for it.
I don't.
Oh, okay. I have a few that I've been trying to finagle.
The premise of this section is that we are going to talk about bits that we are working on.
Yeah.
To try and improve them.
I'll give you two options because one is my Hoboken joke, which you're very familiar with.
Very familiar with, yeah.
One of my classics, and over time it's gotten worse. I think by comparison to the rest of my set, it feels way less authentic. Like and I think it comes like the whole joke was written around like I hate this other location, which is like it was one of the first closers I ever had. And I don't actually hate Hoboken at all. And I think more and more it's becoming obvious relative to the authenticity of my other material.
Okay.
And so the end of the joke is still great because it's a very, if I may toot my own horn, it's a clever ending to the joke. It's a very funny observation. But it's just awkward leading up to there. And what I need to figure out is a more authentic way to get to that same punchline, essentially.
Yeah. Okay, what's your other option?
My other option is I'm working on my bisexual section where I date bi girls. And
I've been so bad at giving you oh, no, actually, go ahead. I felt like I was very bad at giving you suggestions on your bisexual stuff in the past.
Half of that joke is now about you, honestly.
Not about us having sex, to be clear.
It could be. No, it's not. It's just about you asking if I have threesomes, because that's now a big part of what's good in that joke, honestly. Honestly, that's also something I'm trying to work on is like, so that joke, that's actually one where I have the same frustration as you, where the truth of what I find funny about that joke is different from what the audience finds funny, and I can't figure it out. Because, like, I tell that joke, and I think it's very funny.
I think we need to at least give the context of the joke to this is going to be hard to do.
Yeah, well, it's basically just that every girl I've dated has been bi, And at one point, John legitimately asked me if I have had threesomes because of that.
Which is a natural response to, I'm dating a bunch of bi girls.
To me, it wasn't, though. And that's the thing that I find funny is that you live in a world where the only thing holding you back from a threesome is just one happy bi girl who's ready and down for it. And I have had that. And clearly it's everything else that's holding me back. It's like I just think it's very funny that the difference of our worlds, where it's like I do date the bi girls, but I've never even thought I was the right guy for a three, you know what I mean? Like that's and so in the joke now, what people generally find funny is I then go like, when I'm having sex with one girl, I'm already overwhelmed. I've never been fucking one girl and been like, hey, send another one in here. Ooh, like that's the funny part, right? Yeah, that everyone likes that.
I like that.
But I really, and it sort of is a conclusion to that initial setup, but I feel like there's more funny to me there in the like describing our different perspectives that I've never really been able to tap into.
Yeah. Okay. I like this one better just because it's the Hoboken is hard for me to reason through, because I do think for the Hoboken, real quick, I think that we should be conscious of falling into the trap that the only reason a joke doesn't work is because we don't feel it. The audience doesn't think it's authentic.
Yes, that's legit. But it's separate from that. I know that everything that went around that joke, I have now gotten rid of, and because it wasn't authentic, and it's it's not good. It's not up to date with my current level of material.
Yeah,
and so it's not just that I think that's what's happening, because they still do laugh at the end. The setup, I can feel it in the air. You know, like I can, you know. Anyway, it's
yeah. Okay, so the bisexual stuff. I've never been allowed to be I've never felt comfortable being bi-curious myself. And so for me, like, that's another angle. Like I don't know what but like I've never felt like because I've never felt comfortable sharing my thing. I don't think I've ever been able to tell women. Maybe if no, probably not true. But if a woman came up to me and was like, I would like to have a threesome, I feel like with me it would end up more likely being two guys than two girls. That's the way I think is more likely a thing that would happen with me.
Yucky.
Whatever. But like just what else is a thing that people have that like gives you like a whole different like brings a whole additional avenue to a relationship than just like being bisexual. Like being bisexual and you're a heterosexual relationship brings the worry of both genders being able to have sex, like be attracting your partner.
Okay.
What else can you bring can you be in a relationship that brings multiple like worries, I guess, into that relationship is the way I would.
That's the angle you're viewing it from?
Yeah, I think so. Because the other angle we've already talked about, that I'm surprised that you haven't had threesomes, because that's the biggest barrier to entry of threesomes, is having someone that wants to have.
Right. I mean, that's kind of what I find so funny that I want more of, is like I feel like it's the fact that you're like even in a league where threesomes are on the table. I like having threesomes. To me, are something that like much cooler people can access, right? And it's almost like
in reality you are the ones that have access to it,
but I don't think I do. It's like, that's the thing, is it's almost like in order to get to threesomes, there's like 3 doors in between here and there.
Mm-hmm.
And I have 1 unlocked at the front and you have 2 unlocked at the back.
Okay.
And you're like, oh, why hasn't he had a bunch of threesomes? I'm like, because those other 2 doors that you just naturally are already walked through, I haven't gotten through. So you're staring at 1 locked door being like, he's so close. And I'm like, I'm so far. That's what I really want to encapsulate, that I want
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I love that angle of like but what those doors are, I don't think that there's I think that bisexual women being attracted to you is funny to me.
Okay.
It's just like, not that there's anything, it's just like, what about you attracts women that also would like to have sex with women?
Yeah. I think I have two answers. One is partially I'm just attracted to them. I have a big thing for girls with like pixie cuts and like that whole aesthetic. And the other is I do think I'm like more feminine adjacent than like, I'm like less of like a guy's guy, and I think that works for a lot of girls who are bi.
I've been out of the frame for 2 minutes. But does that mean that you think that the girls wouldn't? It would be great if we had a female bisexual here that could give us a better context.
My experience of a lot of the bi girls I've dated is they like to date guys who are slightly feminine and girls who are slightly masculine. It's almost like they're hitting this like middle ground that they're most attracted to.
Got it. So they're attracted to people that are also playing closer to the midline.
Yeah, but that's not I know for a fact that's not universal, and I should emphasize that there are women who are like totally into both ends or whatever.
Yeah.
But it seems that the type I go for likes to have this like, ooh, look at these people right on the gender middle line or whatever, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't be having threesomes as a person that has sex with bisexual women.
It's not my personality. I think that's a big part. Like, I think there's more personality involved in threesomes than you might think, because it's like, to even suggest a threesome, you have to be a certain type of person.
Yeah.
And I think I've done well with a certain type of woman because of my like aggressive authenticity. Like, and my current girlfriend Clara even has talked about this now with me, where like on our first date I talked about like my dad and we don't have a relationship anymore, and like really intense stuff that to me was like very casual, and like that's how I am a lot of the time. And I think there's a lot of women who have bad experiences with men, and they see my like intense authenticity and they feel like they can trust me. And I think I've had like a weirdly high success rate with a certain genre of woman because of that. And I also think that same personality trait makes me feel like a threesome is weird. It's like the thing that makes them like me is the thing that keeps me from offering a threesome.
Do you want threesomes?
Not really, no.
Okay.
I've heard it described as having two TVs on at the same time. Like
yeah. I'm not gonna debate you on whether or not threesomes could be enjoyable.
I'm sure they're great.
I'm good feeling they're probably pretty good.
I'm sure they're lovely. I wouldn't want a threesome with someone I'm in a meaningful relationship with. I
also agree with that.
Yeah, it would be a crazy one night standy thing, and I've never enjoyed even with one person, I get anxiety in like the first time I have sex with a person. So it wouldn't. Yeah, I don't know that I could be. I don't feel relaxed sexually with someone until pretty far into a relationship. Yeah. And if I've made it that far, they're not the type of person I want to have a threesome with.
Got it. Part of me thinks in your door analogy that you have all of the doors open that I do, plus the door that I don't have.
Yeah.
But the door is just closed and you just haven't.
I've chosen not to open it.
You've chosen not to open that's the way I think about it. I think of it more like you're like, I have no ability. I can't access what you think I can access. Yeah. And I'm like, brother, all I did was walk through the doors. Yeah. You just have to knock or just turn you see a door in the distance and you're like, yes, I have this one open, but those two doors in the back, I don't have those. Yeah. And I'm like, if you walked to the door and you gave it a shoulder, I'm pretty sure you could get through it.
I mean, this probably describes our dynamic, like, out in the world a lot, where, like, I feel out of place in situations that I don't actually look out of place in, and you, like, just...
I notice you feeling out of place and being like, I don't think you'd realize that no one else thinks you're out of place here.
Yeah, and then... But that's where I view you as the like charismatic guy in the buddy cop situation. You know what I mean? That's where you're the hunk to me.
Which is so funny because I am not the hunk in many other relationships. But Yeah, I mean, like, I think that you're okay. Now we're completely off the topic of your, like, what do you want out of the? Is there something to being in a relationship with someone that is bisexual that you think improves the relationship? Like, is there a reason why? I'm trying to get an understanding of, like, what about this type of person that gets to your like jives with you, because it we're trying to write a joke here.
Yeah, we were.
The joke we're trying to write is that you date bisexual women.
It was the part that I most focused on coming into this was honestly just your confidence in that situation. That's what I found funny about it. Right. Was the like, or just the funniness that I had never even thought of a threesome. That's maybe really what it is. Is it's like you pointed out something to me that in retrospect actually is kind of obvious, but I had never even thought about it because maybe my self-esteem is so low that I'm like, I'm not a threesome guy. Yeah, like that. Maybe that's really what it is.
It could be you could rule of three it with what other things that you didn't see coming that someone else just basically was like told you, and you're like, oh, that's you could autism.
You know what? You're actually super right about the door analogy. It's so much funnier to frame it as the door's been unlocked this whole time, and I've just been standing there like, what do I do?
there's a door there.
Yeah.
That door's locked for everybody. I'm like, no, dude.
Yeah.
The door is unlocked for you.
Yeah.
You have found someone. Go ahead, walk her over to the door. She'll open it.
No, she wouldn't.
I'm like, brother.
Meanwhile, she's standing there with like two other hot women, like,
I think he would be great for this, but he doesn't seem interested. And you're over there like, I'm very interested. I know that door's locked.
Yeah.
I can't do it.
That's a much better angle.
Yeah, I mean, you can keep it like the start and then roll through it, right?
No, yeah, it's not, the beginning doesn't need to change at all.
Yeah.
It's just where does no, that's more. I mean, that's more true to like this. Yeah, no, that is what I need. That is the missing piece.
And then, God forbid, you ask one of the people that you know that is bisexual, who you have been with, if they would have.
Oh yeah, that would be very funny if I find out that they had been waiting.
Well, not waiting, but that the opportunity was way more present than you thought was present.
Yeah.
Like, again, it's not going to change your life whether or not you did or didn't have one.
Yeah.
It's not what you wanted out of the relationships.
Yeah.
You wanted to be with someone that you cared about.
Yeah.
It just so happened that it's very possible that threesomes were way more likely in your relationship than you even and like you just didn't know that it was. I want to think. Why do I think there's like a Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory reference here? But like something like you have a golden ticket that's just been sitting.
I ate the golden ticket. I didn't
it's
even
just like sitting on the wall.
Yeah,
It's like you walk by it every day, and you're like, I have a golden ticket. And everyone's like, you can take that to the chocolate factory and have as much chocolate as you want.
Yeah.
And you're just like, no, but they like wouldn't let me in because I'm insecure.
Yeah.
They would notice I didn't have a good enough self-esteem. They wouldn't think I'd be able to run the company. Like, you could have run Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory just by walking in there.
Yeah.
And your authenticity.
Authenticity.
That has resonated with so many people.
Yeah, I mean,
Wonka might be the wrong reference.
No,
But I do think that there's this. I do think that there's something in your closed-mindedness to it.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do this. Say you're texting one of your ex-girlfriends who was bisexual. I'm that. What would you text your bisexual?
To ask for a threesome or what?
No, to ask if a threesome would have been possible in the relationship, and I was just too dumb to notice that it was possible.
You're saying I should reenact that? Yeah.
Because my initial thought was to do it.
Yeah.
And then I remembered that not everything has to be real.
Yeah.
And so this would be
Oh, I don't know if I would make up that much of a thing for a joke, but yeah.
Would you ask them? Oh,
I don't know. I'm trying to think which one would be safe to reach out to.
This is even more confirmation that you couldn't do this.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's so. Well, yeah. Now that there was one girl I was dating for a bit who was like, really, you know what? She really wanted to try pegging me at one point.
Okay.
And I bet if I had framed it as you can peg me if we have a threesome, like tip for, and like we had an open relationship, like like we slept with other people.
Mm-hmm.
I 100% could have been like threesome like that. She had threesomes while we were in a relationship, like with other people.
I don't understand how you couldn't ask, hey, maybe we figured.
I figured we weren't I wasn't her threesome guy. Everyone's got to have their one-some guy.
Yeah, she just wanted to have a good relationship, healthy relationship with you, but she wanted to be in multiple threesomes without you.
Yeah.
I'm
really a hero to women is the issue. I'm a savior. I'm the one good guy. Yeah. I don't ask for a threesome. That's why they like me.
You are a good guy. You really are. But like it isn't.
I think I boxed myself in trying to be a good, like, I there's a big part of me that was always scared of being a bad guy. Like, and I think relating potentially to autism, whether it is or is not, is I feel like my lack of understanding of social cues sometimes has made me terrified I'm screwing them up. And so I think one of those situations where it has affected me a lot in my life is romantically. And this is more in the past. I kind of got over this by the time we started to know each other, but romantically in the past. Yeah, not like romantically us. I just mean before we knew each other.
Third time in this podcast where you've insinuated that we've had sex, and hasn't happened.
You're doing a really good job covering. I used to, I think, be a bit of a white knight guy. Like back in college, I was like, I'm the one good guy, And I think that partially relates to
which
me.
isn't a bad thing.
Yeah, it can,
overall, it's
it has some downsides. I do.
It has downsides, right? But none of them involve being bad to women.
True.
So that's the
You can be a little patronizing to women sometimes, but not.
Yeah.
Anyway, this has been helpful. I'm gonna. This is genuinely. I need to go brainstorm this bit with this in mind now.
My vision of these segments is that we do these, and then we eventually post the before and the after between the two.
Yeah.
And then I think that's really cool.
That would be sick.
It's really cool to like see the maturation of the two.
Literally just recorded a copy of that bit last night, but we're trying to work on it and not really hitting it. And I've got some shows next week, and I'll do the new versions of it, and I'll 100%.
I hate when you do that.
You don't like that?
Caitlin does it too, and it's mad. It's so whatever.
It's Fantastic Mr. Fox. This is where I got it from.
Oh.
Just as a kid I loved that movie, and it just got into
Fantastic Mr. Fox. Yeah, I don't have that in me. But okay, so then because of this, I will do one.
Yeah.
So the two angles that I was thinking about, the two different ones that I was thinking about are the one that I'm. Yeah, here's your two. The first one is that I only recently found out that I couldn't be a CEO.
Okay.
And I'll explain the premise quickly, and then you can choose. It's the realization that I'm most likely not going to be the CEO of a Fortune 500 company.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a genuine realization I've had recently.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was told that it was unreasonable to think that an athletic career was a likely scenario for me growing up. You shouldn't focus on trying to be an athlete.
Okay.
Focus on your studies.
Okay.
And so instead of being a professional athlete,
Okay. Oh, you thought Fortune 500 CEO.
I said, okay, I'll just do another thing. I'll be a Fortune 500 CEO.
Okay.
And that, the stupidity of one, the CEO, how hard it is to become a CEO of a Fortune 500 company.
Yeah, it's only 500 at most.
Mm-hmm. And then also the size and just what I look like. The fact that I actually am the size of a professional athlete.
Yeah.
And how few people make it to the size of a professional athlete.
Yeah.
And that's one of the more limiting factors of not wanting to become a professional. It's stupid for a kid who has parents that are 5'8" and 5'10" to want to play basketball.
Yeah.
It is not stupid for a for a kid whose dad is 6'4", his grandfather's 6'6".
Yeah.
He's had his grandparents, 4 of them were offensive, like 4 of his grandparents' sons were offensive linemen in D1 offensive linemen. Like,
you're leaning in a certain direction, and
I'm not saying that it's likely, but how close I could have gotten to being a professional is, I still think, way closer than I could have gotten to being a CEO. But I still thought that the most rational angle for me is to not focus on my athleticism and focus on my academics.
Yeah. Well, this is not funny, but what I would argue is the reason the Fortune 500 is more rational is because if you fail at being a Fortune 500 CEO, you're still a successful business person who's making a living. If you fail at being a professional athlete, you potentially are penniless and have like no prospects, yada yada yada. There's just a bigger gulf right off the edge of one of those.
That is very fair.
Yeah.
That is a very reasonable reason to focus on the academics versus the athletics.
Yeah.
But I think that if you were focusing on being the best and I that was always a thought, is like, I'm still gonna be the best.
Yeah. If you need to be the best at something, you were much closer to that than
Right. Because they want you to follow your dreams and be the best that you can be.
Yeah.
And I still think the best that I can, I think my highest accolades would have been athletically than academically, because I gave it my all academic, most of my all academically.
This is almost weirdly like how you plan your hobbies. Like, you're optimizing yourself as a human. Like, you plan your hobbies around, you want to be good at them when you're old. You want them still to be useful. And being like, oh, I need to be the best version of myself, and I've missed the best possible delta or whatever, is from my perspective, way more focused on optimizing your existence than I've ever thought. Yeah, done.
Yeah, well,
it implies this view of yourself where the value you produce to society is super important to you.
Yeah. I mean, that's totally. I mean, can we put a pin in that? And maybe get that next episode. Focus on the goddamn joke.
Sorry, I just keep getting.
You should talk about how. You should have a conversation with your therapist about how much you care about what legacy you leave on this world. That doesn't seem like a rule of 3. And then the other one was hot yoga.
Ladies.
Just restarting.
Upper pussy, or no, that's Amanda's joke.
No, there is that though. Oh well, the hot yoga that's Pilates.
Oh, Pilates.
Pilates is the.
What's hot yoga?
The Pilates joke is, I do workout classes. I went to Pilates. I was in Pilates with an instructor. Instructor stands right in front of me and says, "All right, ladies, this next position is going to tighten up her upper pussy areas, lock in." And it's just 6'4" to 180-pound John, stretching, just being like, "I guess I got to go home."
Yeah,
this isn't for me.
So what's hot yoga?
The hot yoga was just the premise was just me not feeling like I fit in this hot yoga class, and then the added wrinkle of my instructor being a hot 60, early 60s guy who ended up becoming who ends up being a Bob Harper, the Biggest Loser trainer.
Okay.
And like I thought he was. I mean, I did this so many times in front of you. I can't believe you don't remember this. But I thought he liked me. I thought he was like a big fan of me because I was like paying attention in class. But in reality, he resonates with the fat guys in the class because he's the Biggest Loser.
Yes. Okay. Gotcha.
And that used to be my meat and potatoes when I was just starting out.
Yeah.
And Bob is on a show right now. I have his cell phone number. I'm a big fan of this Bob guy.
Yeah.
But he's on the show Traders right now.
Okay.
And so it would be topical to post a Bob related content as he's having his peak.
Yeah.
A little bite off his coattails.
Yeah. So what did you want to change about that joke?
It just stopped working completely.
Oh.
And I think my angle was that everything else around it was getting better, and so then that didn't.
Yeah.
And similar to Hoboken, the laborious nature of the joke and how long it takes to get to the punchline.
Yeah.
And then I didn't really feel like the punchline did enough.
Yeah.
To end the joke.
So the underlying premise is just that he's innately magnetized to fat people that he can fix, and then you're that, and that's why he likes you.
Yeah, well, the joke starts with me feeling like I'm a fat guy in a hot person class and feeling insecure about it.
Yeah.
And then realizing that the instructor's really hot and he's a hot boy, and so playing on just a guy thinking an older guy is hot. And the way I explain what Bob looks like is I compare him to Miley Cyrus from the Wrecking Ball music video. Like, that's what he looks like. And then, but I do think the real thing is that Bob thinks I'm cute. That's the real reason I think Bob was.
Okay, so you do think that deeper than the Biggest Loser, this man is attracted to you.
Yeah. That was the other angle. Was like I thought it was I'm so insecure about myself that I thought it was just Bob was liked me because I was like a fat guy he could fix. In reality, he's like a gay man who was just interested in a 6'4" tall guy being in his.
I feel like for that to work, there has to be some evidence. Like, what is your proof that he was actually attracted to you? Did he do something, say something?
No.
So then what's also funny about this is the assumption that he's attracted. You know what I mean? Like, because it equally could be both. Based on the information you've given me here, I'm not convinced that either one is necessarily right.
Neither am I.
Yeah.
Those are just the two angles that I have to put a bow around the hot yoga thing. To me, I think it's funny to think of a big boy in a hot yoga class. I think the beginning where I look around at a bunch of chiseled fucks and then I look at me and I'm like, they're wondering who's the new guy in class, and I'm like, it's probably the fat tall guy. I still think that's fine, but I don't know what I want to say with it.
Well, if you just think it's funny being the guy in the hot yoga class, then I think you just need to do one of those jokes where you get really descriptive. You know what I mean? Where you're like, and then my sweaty gunt flapped out of my shirt, or like, you know what I mean? Like, just like that's everything about Bob is kind of separate from that, you know? Because your relationship with Bob is one thing that can be funny, but you feeling out of place in hot yoga is another thing that can be funny, and those are kind of two different premises.
I'd rather focus on the Bob one and color it with hot yoga than focus on the hot yoga and color it with Bob. Or we can go back to the CEO thing.
What do you want?
I don't care.
CEO. What was the CEO that you think? I'm curious about Bob. I feel like
it's topical. It's gonna get us clicks.
That's all I care about. Clicks. Bob CEO. Not CEO. Bob. Because to me the thing is that the whole joke is just it is definitely a theme of you being in your head about stuff, and that's like a lot of what you talk about is. I mean, maybe the way you could tie it all together and thematically make it one joke is by being like just a series of you assuming things about situations that are not true.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, you walk in, you assume everyone's judging you for being the fat guy, and then you walk out, and everyone's like, "Oh, you're so nice to meet you." Like, they're like super friendly, and you're like, "Oh, I was in my head about that." And then you have something with Bob where you're like, "Oh, I thought he was into me because he was helping another fat guy." Turns out, no, not at all. And then you're like, "Oh." And then I thought he was attracted to me, and he was. He wanted to fuck me. Like, that's the like structure you could do is like two examples of you being in your head about something, and then one where it ends with, "No, he totally wasn't in my head at all. He definitely wanted to fuck me." Like,
yeah, no, I like that. I mean, you can the showing not telling of that is gonna be hard for me, of like, because I am always in my head about stuff. Mm-hmm. It is something that comes up a lot for me.
Mm-hmm.
I just, because the way I attack it, the opening premise right now for that joke is I talk about the Pilates thing, and then we're just saying, oh, we're just to lull you into a thought. It's just like, oh, he's just talking about like some workout classes he does in New York. It's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But to have it a different way is I'm looking for ways to turn my brain off.
Mm-hmm.
And working out is a way that I can turn my brain off. But even as I think I'm doing that, I've been told that working out is a way to like de-stress and turn your brain off. What I found is the opposite, is that I go into these scenarios and I actually find different ways.
Yeah.
They're just not they're not the normal, oh, you look fat in this shirt. It's like in this new hot yoga class, now I'm wondering if people think that the color of my shorts is
I feel like that joke needs a little bit of frustration, right? Like, that's the part of what's bothering you there is you're annoyed that someone told you to work out as a way to relax your brain. And you're like, have you ever tried working? It doesn't relax you at all. If you're an anxious person, you find ways to be anxious in every situation. You know? So I think you need to come at it with that, like,
yeah, no, I think that's exactly it. It's just like this, like, I'm like, I know I'm anxious, and I'm trying to address it.
Yeah.
And so one of the ways I'm addressing it is I'm going to like workout classes because I know that I can't like work out by myself. But I go to these workout classes, I can't turn my brain off.
Yeah.
And so then even then the Pilates thing can come back in, and it's just a better way of understanding why we're bringing it up.
Yeah. Yeah. Just a new environment for you to be anxious in. It's
lucky me.
Yeah. Oh, you know what would make you feel relaxed if you had less clothing on, if you were exerting yourself a lot, if you were surrounded by people who were more attractive than you. That's going to be really relaxing.
Yeah. Yeah. There's another thing is, it only happens with fat people, but when you're in hot yoga and you go to sit up and you're like laying down, you go to sit up, like a pocket creates underneath your back, and you make a farting sound every time you sit up.
Yeah.
If you don't consciously avoid an angle. So like, like I'm in this hot yoga class and then I'm farting when I'm sitting up just by my back. Like my back is farting, and like I even tried to like blend in and get like, I even tried to like buy in, and like I bought like biker shorts kind of stuff. So like I would just wear like these like biker shorts kind of leggings things. Yeah. And then I like wore them for weeks, and then I went and visited my friend, and I bent over in front of his wife while I was wearing the shorts, and she goes, "John, you said you wear those to hot yoga?"
Yeah.
I go, "Yeah, why?" She goes, "I can see your ball sack." I was like, no. It's just this like thin. I guess the red one was thinner, and like, I've never worn leggings before, so I didn't know that like. I knew that you could, like, sometimes when you bend over, like leggings get thinner, but I didn't know that happened with underwear. And so for weeks I was flashing middle-aged women behind me.
Why Bob liked you so much?
No, I don't think that's why. But yeah, it's just that I genuinely now like the classes. So, but when I initially went, like, that was the period of like I don't feel.
Yeah, I think what might be good for the joke if you have a person who told you to do hot yoga, so you can be annoyed at them. I think like someone to take out your frustration on. Yeah. You know, in the joke, because like.
I have a friend, Jack, who's very zen.
Yes. Destroy that guy.
Jack is a vegan, and he's like, I'm a really good friend. But like, he actually brought me to this hot yoga class the first time. Yes. And like, I did truly like it, but like these thoughts still permeated through my brain as they were happening of like this anxiety and,
yeah. I think it would be great to be more of like your annoyance that people in general think that there are like solutions to like being relaxed, when it's like, no, anxiety is like, if you have anxiety, it's not like people who are zen like Jack, it's not like they used to be anxious and then they found yoga. Like, no, you admit it, you were always a zen guy. Like, that's you don't give advice to someone who's anxious as if, you know what I mean? Like that. I think
he went from like he went down from like 2 cups a day to 1 cup a day, and like his like whole mood changed. Like, that doesn't happen.
Yeah, it doesn't happen
when you were told to hide your feelings as a kid.
Yeah,
you know. Yeah, no, I like that a lot. I think that fits completely, and that's just a totally better way of thinking through that whole idea of like, I want to be. Especially at that period of my life, I was trying to find ways to be less anxious, and like I was trying to tackle my anxiety. And workout classes was one way that I was supposed to do it.
I feel like if you, let me rephrase, when one day you are doing a 40+ minute set, doing a full length set, I could see a really good structure to your set of building anxiety across the set, where you talk about trying to, like. I think you could have a great theme across a 40-hour-minute set of like trying to get healthy and you're just getting worse and worse and worse, and then like resolving with like, but now I'm happy because, you know. Yeah. I think that there's I
tried anal, and that was it.
I mean, like your theme of like being interested in mental health and self-betterment and all that sort of stuff is like, there's a good like narrative there that I see, and that was just a random thought for like years down the line, but yeah.
All right.
Cool.